Woof. Welcome to Evilive, Live Me a commentary show that answers the question, why am I watching a god's assistant trying to convince orcs to follow him? Subscribe if you're new to the channel because today we're reviewing Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 1, Elven Kings Under the Sky. Oh, boy. So, well, let me start with this. Let me give you a preface. I'm not one of those types of people who, if other people I like, I personally like as an individual, or I like the content they create, if they don't like something, I'm not the type of person to also not like something because I want to be their friend, or I have no problem standing on my own crate and professing to the world that you all may hate this, I'm going to love it. Or vice versa. If everyone loves something and I don't care. I don't mind being in a minority. I don't mind standing outside of the pack and being the weird black sheep of liking it. The whole first season of The Rings of Power was deadpanned by almost everyone because it didn't follow the the lore of Lord of the Rings, which is weird because it's Lord of the Rings. You would think if you're going to do a show about an established lore, you would then reference said lore, but they didn't. And that has carried through. And I am not precious about the Lord of the Rings lore because, quite frankly, it's just not one of those fantasy worlds that I'm super connected to. And so I went into the first season just going, okay, well, on the surface, is this a story that's sort of fun and weird and sort of out there and is a nice fantasy tale that I want to, sort of get into? And I was hyper latching on to things like the Numenorians and conceptually the elves and conceptually the dwarves and stuff like that. And Moria looked beautiful. And, I was sort of latching on to stuff like that. And I love the buddy cop. I don't think it was meant to be that, but I took away a buddy cop partnering between the dwarf and the elf, and I don't know. There's aspects of it I really enjoyed because it was just this is stupid fun. Now, trying to watch the first 3 episodes that just dropped on this second season, I couldn't do it. I was really struggling. I was going to give this review on Sunday. I couldn't bring myself to do it because and even now, I don't know if you can tell, I just don't like this show, and I don't know why. Because again, I'm not tied. The reason why people are complaining about it is because it's not tied to the lore. And so since I don't care about the lore, why would I not like it? And it comes down to the look of the characters. Yeah, it's that shallow. It's the look of the characters. And the fact that they're making... Let me talk about this really quick. I haven't even gotten to the details of the show yet, but I'll get there. The sun came out. You can clearly see. Orcs are monsters. They're not people. They're corrupted elves bred for battle and death. That's it. That's their sole reason to exist. They're created by the Dark Lords in order to destroy the free men of whatever. Why are they complaining? Why are they forming unions, apparently, with Adar? I don't understand why, if your sole purpose is to be henchman number 3 who gets slain, why am I hearing your voice? And why are the bad guys allowing this to happen? It makes no sense. We start this whole show with Adar sort of supposedly crowning Sauron, and Sauron's trying to convince everyone that he's still the good old Sauron. And they're like, yeah, but we don't really, we don't really have any union benefits. We don't have weekends off. We would really like to have a couple days after, our wife orc gets pregnant to stay at home with the baby orc and spend some time there. What are you talking about? What the hell is going on with this story? There's no reason to humanize orcs. They're not human. So stupid. What the hell is going on with this show? And then why is Sauron? Okay, this is as I understand it. The big bad guy is Morgoth, his understudy, his theatrical understudy, his stage understudy was Sauron. Sauron led the world, was defeated in the second age, the first age, came back in the second age or whatever it was. And that's where we're picking up at the very beginning of this as a flashback. And Adar has that kick-ass crown. And he's like, I'm going to put this on your head, even though none of the orcs like you. They all like me, sucker. And then he like stabs him with it. And all the orcs go and like gang up on him and fuck him up. Why? I don't understand any of that. What? He's Sauron. He's fucking Sauron. Why is he being beat up by his own henchmen? And if they know he can't be killed and he just cycles and comes back, why are they doing it in the first place? They know he's going to be back. Do you think he's going to be okay with you having murdered him? No. He's going to come back and he's going to murder you and your stupid orc wife and your stupid orc baby. That's what he's going to do. So why the hell are you killing him? Your purpose is to serve him. That's it. You are literally a slave to this monster, which makes him the believable monster that he is. You take all of that away, and then suddenly the orcs aren't the bad guys anymore. They're just misunderstood. And suddenly Sauron's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just a bad manager, apparently. So he's not this scary evil entity that is trying to wipe out all the free people of where the fucking Middle Earth. He's actually just office space manager trying to get his coworkers to work on the weekend. Okay. So stupid. All right, so at the dawn of the second age, Dark Lord Sauron is seemingly killed by an army of orcs and their leader Adar, but his spirit endures and forms into a new body 1,000 years later. And of course, that's the first season where he's Halbrand and he gets picked up by these traveling merchants or something, and they go on a ship, and the ship gets destroyed by this creature, and that's where he meets Galadriel. Quick note about the actress who plays Galadriel, Morfydd Clark. I just last night watched Saint Maud, which she stars in. It's a horror film. I hate her as an actress. I had no context for her when I watched the first season. And so I just was like, okay, well, she kind of almost looks like the actress who played Galadriel in the film series. So whatever, I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to go with it. Now, having seen her in another film and then watching her in this, I don't think she's very good. And I don't like talking shit about people's abilities in their professions, but she's just not very good and not very believable as Galadriel. And they completely changed the character of Galadriel apparently as well. So why are they doing this? I don't understand why the showrunners are completely changing established details of this world that they're making it supposedly for the fans who will definitely know the changes, because the fans of Lord of the Rings are fervent fans. They're obsessive fans. You think Star Wars fans are bad? They got nothing on Lord of the Rings fans. They are nerds to the highest degree. Oi. So, he takes the name Halbrand. He helps the elves forge 3 rings of power before his identity is revealed at the end of the first season. And so that's kind of where we're picking up with this. This whole episode is all about the elves realizing the power of these 3 rings. Now, in the chronology, I believe the 3 elven rings were the last to be done. But in this one, they're the very first ones, which is weird because the elves are the longest living race. And so they would clearly know and stop if they realize that Sauron had power over these 3 rings. Well, then don't build the ones for the dwarves or the humans, because they're clearly like contaminated with Sauron's, I don't know what he puts in there for his alloys and molecular structures. So High King Gil-galad believes that he has no choice but to use the rings against Sauron, while his herald Elrond objects. Yeah, Elrond's, I mentioned it in the first season. I don't like the look of the actor who plays Elrond. His face is so bony and just sort of like angular, and you can't help that. You're born the way you're born, so who cares? I look like a piece of shit too, so I don't care. But it does bother me. I can't not notice it. Same with that the black elf with the short, like almost buzz cut. His visual appearance bothers the shit out of me. Not the color of his skin, just his military cropped hair doesn't fit in with fantasy vibes for me at all. Like he looks like he's like an extra in Avatar, and instead he's in like Middle Earth. I don't know. So anyway, I'm a very visual person. You wouldn't be able to tell, but so Elrond's the only one with any logic. Like he's like, hey, Galadriel, let me talk to you for a second. So these rings, where did they come from? Oh, Sauron made them. I knew it was him all along, and I still let him make the rings. So we're good, right? And Elrond's like, fuck you, bitch. No, we can't keep these rings. Get the fuck out of here. So he like runs away. Galadriel goes chasing after his ass. He ends up taking him to Círdan, the oldest and wisest of elves in Middle Earth, who has a beard. When did elves have facial hair? At what point did this happen? I just don't... Elrond Hubbard. Yeah, Icarus. I don't like my elves with beards unless they're half elves, and then they're cool. But pure elves, get out of here. No beards. No beards. So anyway, this guy has a beard, and he looks at these and he's like, you know what? I believe that these are perfect rings, and they could help extend the life of our forests and our people. As you'll remember from the first season, that was the big concern. And it's an ongoing story with the elves of like they're sort of outgrowing the land and they don't really belong in Middle Earth anymore. And so they're going to go off to their, I don't know, ancestral homeland or whatever. It's just they're slowly making that pilgrimage. And ultimately they do it in the Lord of the Rings films, or at least we see some of them doing it. But it's always that threat, like, are we to leave the men of Middle Earth to their own devices, or should we stay and fight the evil in Sauron? Well, in this particular case, they're leaving because they're losing their long lifespans, they're losing their forests, everything's dying around them, so if their magic is dying, the only way they can live is to get the fuck out of here. I believe they end up going to wherever Mr. Rogers' puppets live, like that fantasy land. They like hop on the trolley and just like go to the, I don't know, creepy ass puppets. I love Mr. Rogers personally, but those are the creepiest ass hand puppets I've ever seen in my life. And they scared me as a kid. They scared me. They're creepy. So anyway, that's where the elves live apparently. So the rings can prolong life by using the power of Sauron. I don't know how, they don't really explain it that well. And so this Círdan is just like, we're going to do this. We're going to keep these rings around. I know you came to me to tell you that Sauron's bad. And yeah, he is bad. But these rings are kind of dope. I mean, look at the setting on them. And look at the pristine nature of these gems. And I don't know anything about rings either, obviously. So Círdan, Galadriel, and Gil-galad put on the rings, and they are all starving or they have low blood sugar because they're all shaking their hands like crazy. And I don't know if it's supposed to be like the power of the rings, and so they're just like, "Mah!" But you know what it reminded me of? Wayne's World. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Because every single one of their hands was shaking. Like, are they all Michael J. Fox? They've all got Parkinson's or something? No one could just put their hand out without it just being like, Gah! Earthquake. I don't get that. All right. So they decide, for the sake of all the elves and their forests, to keep the rings around, even though the evil man did it. So what this does is that instead of making Galadriel a hero of her people, and like we saw last time, and able to resist the temptation of the rings, the one ring in that particular case from the films, she's literally the reason Sauron comes back and is successful and makes the other rings. Because she knew who he was, she allowed the rings to be made, She told him, hey, Celebrimbor, don't you make the rings with him because he's a bad man. But Celebrimbor's like, fuck it, I need a legacy. I'm making some rings. I don't care if he's a bad guy. He's nice to me. I can't take it. The elves are just so fucking stupid in this show. It drives me insane. I always had respect for elves because they're long flowing locks. And now they just cut them short, grow beards, and apparently turn into assholes. Then we cut over to the stranger, who is definitely Ian McKellen in his 1970s years. But I don't know why they keep calling him the stranger. He's clearly Gandalf. Like, who are you trying to fool? Maybe their hands were shaking because they had too much coffee. It's already established canon that there was a Starbucks in Game of Thrones. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, what would be the Middle-earth version of the Game of Thrones' Starbucks? Would it be like Beans and Brews, which is a local chain around here? It'd be like the knockoff, which is weird because you would think that Lord of the Rings would have like the premium brand. All right, so the stranger, the wizard who is regaining his memories slowly, and the Harfoot Nori Brandyfoot get lost on their way to the land of Rune. They end up being followed by Nori's friend Poppy Proudfellow, who brings Harfoot maps in order to help them along. And then they're like a non-story. They're getting lost, and they're refinding their way. They're not actually moving the plot forward at all. There's just going to be some point in the future where they're going to be in a place and have some sort of purpose. It just hasn't happened in a season and 3 episodes yet. So who knows? We cut over to Eregion, in Mordor. So Halbrand, who is Sauron, is caught by the orcs, dragged and beaten and chained up in Mordor. You know, his fucking house, his own home. And Adar is just like kicking back like Conan the Barbarian. And he's just like, hey, dude, I'm not Sauron, but I think I know where he is. So look, you let me get over skedaddle to Eregion, and I'll figure out if it's him, and I'll tell you. If it's him, I'll definitely tell you, because I'm not him. But I will definitely find out if it's him, because I think he's over there. So you let me over there, and we'll find out he's over there, but not because it's me going over there and being him, but because he's a totally different entity. Okay? And Adar's just like, yeah, okay, cool, go ahead. Like, what? Adar knows Sauron takes new forms. How is he not going to feel the residual power in him? Is Sauron that good at like pulling his robe tight? He's just like, you will not sense my authority. All right. Like, I'm not connected to the lore, so I'm just taking it what you're giving me, show, and it's ridiculous. Like, I'm doing a whole 180 on this show from the first episode. So if memory serves, the second and third episodes aren't as egregious to me, but they're still not good. And I'll get to those in time eventually. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to connect with Cameron lately and like do these reviews together. He knows a lot more about Lord of the Rings than I do. And I do like having that sort of like authoritative understanding of the lore as I sort of bounce thoughts back and forth. But right now, I'm having a hard time of convincing myself to do these reviews, because I don't want to talk about something that's not going to make me happy. Like, why? Like, there's enough in life that sucks. Why are you going to go out of your way to just sit and bitch? But I am kind of a bitch, so maybe I will. Who knows? In any case, the Morfydd Clark who plays Galadriel really bothers me in this show. The fact that one person was just killed off screen between seasons because the actress wouldn't come back and they didn't want to recast her. We have Adar being played by a whole new actor because the original actor popped smoke as well. The story is weird. I thought I was like in a fever dream when they did the flashback, because I was like, wait a second. When is this supposed to be happening? Because I thought Sauron like ruled Mordor and like his people are like whipping his ass. When the fuck did that happen? So I had no idea what was going on. I thought it was the gummies, but it definitely was not the gummies. It was just an unnoticed flashback. This whole show, this whole series episode is just like tough. It's tough to get through. And if this is the indication of the season to follow, I'm not going to enjoy this very much. I hope someone out there is, and if you do, please give me a reason to, because I'm looking for it. I want to like this. I'm just not. I'm just not. All right. So the logic of some of these characters is equivalent of when your 3-year-old closes his eyes in the middle of the room while playing his hide and go seek. You don't see me if I don't see you. I remember when I believed that. It wasn't that long ago. I would sit in the school bus looking up at a mirror that looked up at other people further down the bus, and I was like some bullies that were at the back of the bus, and they like looked up and looked at me looking at them. I was like, oh shit, if I can see them, they can see me. I remember that vividly from elementary school because I was definitely mad dogging them, which probably didn't help with the whole bullying situation, but whatever. I beat them in every athletic contest, so I gave them something to hate me for. I wouldn't fight them. They made everyone hate me and made my elementary school horrible. But every physical contest I beat them at, so fuck them. It's better than Willow. First of all, that's a really low bar, and I'm not sure that's true. Just based off of the 3 episodes thus far, I'm not sure that's true. I hope it is. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. What do you think? Oh, for that, I'm going to give it a 3 Evil Eyes. You know, the last season I probably gave 4 for the episodes. This one is slowly diminishing returns. And if it keeps getting worse or stays the course, I may not finish this season of The Rings of Power. I want to like it. I'm having a hard time liking it is all. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this review of Season 2, Episode 1 of The Rings of Power. What did you think? If you are a fan of the lore and you know a lot about it, hit me up. Let me know all the details. Maybe we can get you on camera and we'll sort of have a good back and forth about it too. As always, remember the evil spelled backwards is live, so get your asses out there, beat the shit out of Sauron, and be evil.